Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alana and today you'll be joining me to roast my favourite books. Now I've seen other people do this before and it just looked entertaining and like a lot of fun. So I thought, why not? Let's see what other people think of my favourites. So for this I'm going to be going on to Goodreads and just scrolling until I find 3-star or under reviews with something spicy to say. I do just want to point out that I'm not having a go at these reviewers at all. This is purely for entertainment purposes, so I will be blocking out the names. Because as we all know, reading is subjective and it is all our own personal opinion. So for some fun, let's jump into it. So I have my laptop here, so I may be looking down for a tiny portion of this video and then we'll jump onto my phone and sort of wing it. I should also mention that some of these books I have not reread for quite some time and others I have reread quite recently. So, I mean, some of these thoughts are probably on the money and some of them I will probably just flat out disagree with. But here we go. We're going to be kicking this off with Graceling by Kristen Kershaw. Now, from what I can see on Goodreads, this has an overall star rating of 4.6 with over 423,000 ratings and 23,000 reviews. So a lot of people have read this book. I would pitch Graceling as a YA / new adult high fantasy. It's kind of an in-between book with a lot of things, but in this world people are graced with abilities and that could mean any sort of ability. So you could remember everything that's ever written down. That could be your grace. Or in the instance of our main character, she is graced with the ability to kill. So she is then utilized by one of the kings in this realm. Lots of powers and abilities, which we all know I am a fan of on this channel. Okay, so the first one here I can see is a 2-star review and it says 2.5 stars and DNF, which stands for did not finish, at 54% because I think I enjoy chivalry and bras too much for this malarkey. I mean, you're not wrong. There is a bit of a feminist aspect to this book, but then in other people's opinions there isn't. It's a very polarizing section of the book is what I've come across since I've scrolled through these reviews. So you can keep your bras, that's fine. This one, 2 stars or 2.5 stars, vanilla and 2008, and that's it. I mean, I think this was published in 2008, so technically you're not wrong. I'm just not sure about the vanilla part. But you're 50% correct, so there's that. 1-star review. Graceling has a beautiful cover, great premise, and lots of hype, and would be a terrific novel if it weren't for the writing and atrocious main character. Sink your teeth in. Obviously I don't agree with that, but I have said that the main character is spiky, so Okay, last one. 1 star. Disgraceling is an offense to my intellect, my literary taste buds, and my femininity. I wasn't able to finish this one, and I shall never, ever read another Kershaw. My literary taste buds. You sound very smart, and like maybe you shouldn't read YA fantasy because you are obviously an intellect and too smart. I like what you did there with the wordplay for Disgraceling though. That's fun. That's fun. Good times. Okay, next up, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This one is always very hard to describe. It's clairvoyant, people doing things with their minds, different orders of clairvoyance, and our main character Paige gets kidnapped. I would also say that this one gives like ye old London vibes with its setting, but it's set in like 2050 something. So it's got an old world setting, but it's many years in the future set. This is also the first book that Samantha Shannon ever published. On Goodreads, The Bone Season has an overall star rating of 3.77. It has over 70,000 ratings and 9,000 reviews, so a lot less reviews compared to the previous book. Okay. A 2-star review. I could review this and tell you all the reasons I didn't like it, but that would probably require me to read more of it. I only got about a quarter of the way through, and I'd rather not. Suffice to say, creating a complicated alternate London and explaining its social order to me in detail for 200 pages doesn't really work if you forget to develop an interesting main character, or any of the characters. Twilight has better characterization than this. Oh damn! I mean, she does pack a lot of detail into the books and there is some info dumping, but I don't mind info dumping in books if I'm interested in what the book is doing or world building. I personally prefer it over Twilight, but that's just my subjective opinion. Then we have another Twilight one. 1-star review. This might be the worst book I've ever read, and I've read half of the first Twilight book. Okay, that one was good just for a laugh. I like that. I like that. Don't agree, but I like it. Then we have a 2-star review. In short, the publisher's overblown hype set this book up for judgment and failure, but the book itself provided the rope. Just to give a little bit of background to that, Bloomsbury kind of said that Samantha Shannon was going to be the next J.K. Rowling, which I just don't agree with that comparison, because they're writing in different, their writing is so different. So I understand the overblown hype part by the publisher there, just because there was that comparison floating around. And then lastly, we have one with a very nice little graphic included that says, "Violators will be fined, no dumping." This is a 2-star review. "Oh, Samantha Shannon, honey, didn't you learn anything in creative writing 101? Info dumping is a no-no." I like the fact that this person actually had to search for an image to put with that. Also fun. Like I said, there is info dumping in this book, so, I mean, that's fine. Next, I looked up The Scorpio Races by Maggie Stiefvater. This is one that I've actually reread recently. I should also point out that I reread the first Bone Season book recently as well. And both of them I still enjoyed. So The Scorpio Races has an average rating on Goodreads of 4.6 stars. It has 108,842 ratings and over 13,000 reviews. This one seems to be more genuinely well received. So there's only 2 that I found for this one that were worth kind of having a laugh over. The first one, 2 stars. "The best part about The Scorpio Races is its first sentence. The worst thing is that the novel is not worth venturing beyond it." Harsh. I think the first sentence is something like, "It's the first day." I mean, I could just read you it. First sentence is, "It is the first day of November and so today someone will die," which is a very captivating first sentence. I definitely don't agree with this opinion. Then we have a similar one, 1-star review. "It is the first day of November and so today someone will die. Yeah, me, out of boredom. I don't have anything to say about this. Next, please." Short, sharp and sweet. Also, The Scorpio Races is about a small island. You follow 2 different main characters and there are these seahorses that are part like monster and they wash up on the beaches and they have the Scorpio Races once a year. And there's other things that tie into it as well, but like monstrous fey horses, and it is actually very good, and it's a standalone. It does have Maggie Stiefvater's signature writing style though, very whimsy, but on reread I still really enjoyed it, and the audiobook is great. Okay. We're gonna give Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb a little look. Now I will say that this is the first book that kicks off the whole Realm of the Elderlings saga series, and it's not my personal favourite of the bunch. My heart lies with the second trilogy, which is the Live Ship Traders trilogy, but this is the first book, so I thought I would look up this one. I will also say it took me about half of the book to get into it, and then from there I saw the appeal. So I'll probably agree with some. I'll probably agree. Anyway, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb has a general rating of 4.16 on Goodreads. It has over 260,000 ratings and 11,566 reviews. The first one we have is a 2-star review. They've also shelved it on Frustration Nation, which is cute. It says, "Too little too late, I'm afraid. All the exciting stuff happens in like the last 50 pages or so. It was really good, very addictive and intriguing, but the 400 pages before that were so bland. I'm once again left confused at how this book is so loved. I suspect there was less exciting fantasy options back in 95 when it's released." Nothing wrong with the year 95, just saying. But I mean, I did just say that it did take me half the book to get into the book, so not all of this is fiction. A nice little 1-star review with some grunts at the start. I didn't care for this series at all. The bad guy is so bad, stomping around twirling his virtual snidey whiplash moustache, sneering and jeering and literally kicking puppies, and yet the supposed wise mentor in the book keeps insisting mysteriously that there is more to him than meets the eye. Well, guess what? There isn't. He's just as bad as he seems, and that pretty much saves you the trouble of reading the whole book right there. This does bring up one of the things with this series, and that is that there is animal abuse and the most vile parts of mankind are addressed in this, but that feeds into the high fantasy, grim, dark feeling of this book. I forgot again, but Assassin's Apprentice, the first book in the Fast-Year trilogy, follows young Fitz, who is the bastard of the king in waiting, so the guy that's going to take over being king of the 6 duchies. As the series goes on and the list of books keeps on compiling, we see different parts of the world, and it gets really, really expansive, and I love it so much. So much. But yeah, there is some puppy kicking. Anyway, moving on. Little 3-star review. I can't lie, this book was boring as hell, but I really enjoyed the writing, so I'm just going to shut up and move on to the next book. I read It's Good, and I hope it's true, because this book was just meh, but I'm barely motivated to move on. I'm going to give you some advice. Read on. Get to that second trilogy, because that is where it is at. Keep on going. Trust me, it gets better. 3 stars. So this is not like a bad rated one, but they say probably the most depressing fantasy trilogy I read, and that includes Thomas Covenant. Recommended for when you are too cheerful and want to lower your mood in a hurry. There are some pretty depressing points in it, so true. The bad guys are bad with no redeeming qualities and doing bad things just because they are bad. The good guys have all the bad luck imaginable and then some. They also love acting out of character. Look, Robin Hobb is not afraid to put her main characters through some shit. And it can be depressing at some point. This is just me helping people roast my favorite books. I will not stand for it. I love Robin Hobb. I love her so much. And the last one, 3 stars. Bullet points for this review because although Robin Hobb likes to ramble on, I do not. Fitz's life sucks. Lots of winding and turning and taking an especially long time to get to the point. Lots of predictable plots, but not knowing exactly how we'd get there. I actually never really know how her books are gonna go because of how much pain she puts her main characters through. I don't find them predictable, but that's just me. Anyway, moving along. Let's do Cersei by Madeline Miller. This one right here. You may recognize this author's name, which is attached to the Song of Achilles, which they also wrote, which is blowing up everywhere because of book talk. How good. Anyway, Cersei follows the goddess Cersei, and it's kind of a timeless tale. Like, it takes place over a lot of years because gods and goddesses just have no concept of time really because they live forever. And it is about her life, basically. People either really like this or they find it kind of meh. I really, really loved it. Cersei is also in the Odyssey by Homer. If you've recognized the name, that's where she comes from. She's the witch that turns his men into pigs. And then he ends up sleeping with her and spends a year with her. So, I mean, she can't have been that bad. Anyway, this has a 4.26 star rating on Goodreads, 523,000 ratings, 55,000 reviews. This 2-star one just says, if I had been blessed with half the ability to string such extravagant and lavish words the way Miss Miller does and used it to paraphrase the history on Greek mythology I found online or at the library, I could have just as effortlessly come up with this book and would have made just as much money out of it. But you didn't come up with it, so there's more. Also, I couldn't hide behind the false pretense of turning it into a feminist sort of book and reconstruct Cersei's character only to have her curse unworthy men to pigs and fuck the ones she found favourable. Lastly, I would make sure no one died of boredom while reading this book. Now let's cheer to that, shall we? No, we're not cheering to that. Like I said, there's a timeless element to this. Lots of years pass. But in my humble opinion, I felt like that added to the character building, world building element of the gods. Like, those people live forever. Then we have a 3-star. Once again, I went out of my comfort zone, and once again, I am reminded just how comfortable it is in my comfort zone. After reading this, I realized that I have zero interest in Greek mythology, or more likely I do, but this book didn't really spark that interest. I mean, comfort zones are cool. You can sit in them for ages. You can read every book in your comfort zone, but after a while, you're gonna start to notice repeating tropes and storylines and things like that because you are just consuming the same bubble. But if you're happy being there, go right ahead. I also have an interest in Greek mythology. Like, part of my uni degree was majoring in ancient history. So that definitely plays into why I enjoyed this book so much. So keep that in mind. If you don't have an interest in Greek mythology, this book isn't going to do it for you. And then lastly, 1 star. I can't. I'm sorry. I just can't with this book. Maybe it's because the author seems to channel Homer in her writing a little bit too much for me. Maybe it's because I find the story a little disorientating as I know too much about Greek mythology. Maybe it's because I don't find the characters interesting. I honestly don't know, but I just can't do it. I'm begging. This person's just like, I can't. I'm out. See you later. I'm jumping off the ship. Here's the thing with Greek mythology too though, right? And any sort of mythology. It's not just one person writing down the tale. You have a multitude of different authors, ancient historians, whatever, writing along a similar thing. So you're not just gonna have the one version of Cersei. Like, I know that Homer does dedicate, I think it's like a whole book at least, and she comes back in somewhere else as well. I know that he dedicates some time to Cersei, and that's a whole nother discussion of his portrayal of her. But there's other accounts. So mythology is not just one line of story, it branches. Are you right? It branches as the authors write it, and yeah. So maybe that's why it was disorientating for you, because you have, sounds like you've read a lot of mythology, which, like, hats off to you, because that's sick. That's it. I'm done. So there you have it. That was me purposely looking up bad reviews of some of my favorite books and letting people on Goodreads unintentionally roast them. If you liked how much I suffered in this video, don't forget to like it and to also subscribe so you can see future tormented anguish from me. This was oddly fun to do. Once again, I'm not attacking any of these reviewers. This was just a fun little thing that I've seen other people do and I wanted to jump on. I want to reread some of these books now. Like, I know that they're still going to be favorites, but would all of them hold up? I don't know. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I hope that you are doing okay out there. I will see you in another one. Bye!